Many times scoring keys aren't only based on individual summing up of items, they could be based on conditions that need to be met to reach a score. An example might be the raw score has to be greater than 20 and they couldn't have skipped more than X items, or the subscale scores, the geometry score needs to be greater than 10, the algebra score needs to be greater than 2. You can start to establish those conditions to probably prove out whether someone passes, fails, or gets a particular qualitative value on a test. To do this, we have something called the conditional scorer. It builds off a lot of the same constructs that are used in the band and formula scores, so we'll explain those. So let's say I'm going to base my conditions on a couple of subscale scores. So I'll call this pass condition. A lot of times tests aren't pass or fail, but this will probably just make sense. So I say pass condition, and then it says, hey, you want to establish some conditions? Let's put those in. So condition 1, I'm going to use this wrench to establish the condition. And I could say, let's say that your SD score needs to be greater than or equal to 2. That's an arbitrary value. So I click finish, and I have SD score is greater than or equal to 2, and let's say they pass. So that is 1. I could also say, and just repeat this, so those of you that build out conditional logic, you know a lot of times you need to establish what happens if it's not greater than or equal to 2. So what we're establishing there is we're going to say it's less than 2. And we'll click finish, and we'll establish that that is a fail score. So there's a very simple conditional set. If SD score is greater than or equal to 2, you pass. If FT score is less than or equal to 2, or less than 2, you fail. You can establish more complex conditions by using things like or and. So and SD score is greater than or equal to 2, and modified score, let me scoot this over a little bit, is greater than or equal to 3. So I can establish ands and ors. So I'm going to just go ahead and copy this, and so that we have both conditions met here, and then we'll establish the less than value here. So you can see ands, ors, ifs can be established in here, and you use the wrench to kind of get at what those are. You can use score variables, you can use functions. So it's kind of a combination of the band score and the formula score, but you can imagine what might happen here. As with the band score, conditions are evaluated top down. So you could have multiple pass conditions, and it just goes through and looks for those. And you could have multiple fail conditions. So once it hits one of the top conditions on its top-down approach, that's what it's going to evaluate. So a very useful scorer. It can also be a little bit complex, so we offer it to you when conditions are what drives your scoring key.